Hi, I'm Dale Rae. I'm a senior lecturer at the University of Cape Town and I'm the director of sleep science. Proper sleep is important for our physical health, for our mental health, and also for our cognition. So that's the way we're able to use our brains, whether it's at work or at home. There's truckloads of evidence now which suggests that over many years, if we don't get sufficient sleep, that we're more likely to suffer from heart disease, for example, or diabetes. We're more likely to gain weight, which are obviously risk factors for these diseases. So sleep and mental health are very, very tightly linked. In order to have optimal mental health, to reduce our anxiety levels, for example, our stress levels, and in order to be able to control our emotions nicely every day, we definitely do need good sleep. And then from a cognition perspective, when we are on fire mentally, we're generally well rested. And so that means that we are able to be creative. We can think deeply. We can work in a very concentrated manner. We can be really effective and really efficient. We don't procrastinate. There's also the sort of shorter term and longer term effects of having proper sleep. The shorter term effects, we know that when we haven't had a good night's sleep, we're grumpy, we don't control our emotions very well, we might feel a bit more lethargic, we just don't really feel like doing very much. But it's the long-term effects that are coming to light now that we're much more concerned about, which are related to our long-term health, and whether it's our heart health, our metabolic health, or our mental health. I would define quality sleep as a mixture of sleep duration and then other components of sleep which are super important. So everybody thinks about, if I'm getting 8 hours of sleep, I must be good because that's how much sleep I need. The duration is quite important. We need to be in the ballpark. But what makes quality sleep is how restorative that sleep is. And so what makes sleep restorative, it's when it's consistent in its timing from night to night. So in any given week, we like to have not too much variation between your earliest and latest bedtime, earliest and latest wake up time, and the duration of your sleep. That's super important. We like to have continuous sleep. So our sleep should be one solid, consolidated nocturnal sleep, and you shouldn't wake up too many times. Everybody wakes up a little bit. And when you wake up, most importantly, you should feel that you are restored, which means that you've had sufficient deep sleep, for example, and sufficient REM sleep. When we fall asleep at night, as we close our eyes, we lie there, we take about 5 minutes or so to fall asleep, 5 to 20 minutes actually, and then we go down into a stage of sleep called N1, that's non-rapid eye movement stage 1. This is a super light stage of sleep. It is true sleep, but if I were to tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, wake up, you'd go, no, I promise you, I was just lying here, I was definitely not asleep. You actually were asleep, you were just in light sleep, N1. And after that, you drop down into a stage called non-REM 2, which is non-rapid eye movement stage 2. This is a deeper stage of sleep. And here, if I tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, wake up, you won't wake up, but your brain will register that you've been disturbed. And then you'll cycle down into N3, non-rapid eye movement stage 3, which is deep sleep. This is also known as slow wave sleep. And now you are out for the count. You are literally unconscious. We can have a party around you and you generally don't move. And that's that holy grail deep sleep that we're all after. So you go N1, N2, into N3, and then you're going to pop up and have a little spike of REM. So REM is rapid eye movement sleep. And the rapid eye movement sleep is where your brain is super busy. It actually looks like an awake brain, but your skeletal muscles are paralyzed so that you can't move. And this means that you can't act out on what's happening inside your head. So when we cycle from N1 to N2 to N3 and back up to REM, that's called a sleep cycle. Each cycle generally lasts around 90 minutes or so, and you'll have 4, 5, 6 cycles per night, depending on how long you sleep for. But what happens is as the night progresses, the content of those cycles slightly changes. So in the first part of the night, we do loads of our deep sleep. And then as the night progresses, we do loads of our REM in the last third of the night. The purposes of the different stages are very different. So from what we understand, our N3, which is our slow wave or our deep sleep, that's where your body is very busy doing its physical repair and recovery. And then the REM sleep is critical for emotional and psychological repair and recovery. How much time should I be spending in each of these stages? Now you need to understand you have no control over this. This is your body doing its thing and you've got to trust it. But on average, we should spend around 5% of our night in light sleep, N1. So we don't spend a lot of time there. It's literally a transitionary sleep stage. N2, we spend half of our night, 50% in N2. N3 is around 1/5 of our night, and you should be spending about a quarter of your night, 25%, in REM sleep. Healthy sleep is considered to be sleep which comprises at least 5 or 6 cycles throughout the night, where we're cycling through the non-REM to the REM stages. And importantly, they need to be with sufficient time in each one of those stages. When thinking about sleep, it's quite important that we also understand a concept called circadian rhythms. So the word circadian comes from the two Latin stem words circa and diem, which means about a day. So we're referring to biological rhythms that have a period of approximately 24 hours. All the cells in your body are coordinated by a master clock in the brain. It means that your body produces most of its hormones on a 24-hour rhythm. We feel hungry on a 24-hour rhythm. From a sleep perspective, circadian rhythms determine each person's preferred timing of their sleep. You might have heard of the terms owls and larks before. In fact, you may identify with being one of these. So a night owl is a person who has a bedtime of, say, 2 in the morning, and they would happily sleep through till 10 o'clock the next day if left to their own devices. And then a morning person is the person who is going to sleep at around sort of 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and they're happy to be up at 5, 6 in the morning. Actually, there's a spectrum. We've got extreme night owls on the one side, extreme morning types on the other, and in the middle are the neither types. These are where the majority of the people sit, and this is where most people will have, say, an 11 p.m. bedtime, and they'll wake up at around 7 in the morning. Being a neither type is actually wonderful because it means you can tolerate the odd early morning and the odd late night without too much fuss. Your chronotype is driven by the genetics of your body clock. So you cannot choose to be an extreme night owl or a morning person. You're genetically driven to be that. You can shift yourself behaviorally somewhere along that spectrum so that you can sort of find some kind of comfort, if you like. So a night owl will have a naturally much later bedtime and a much later wake-up time. So this means that all of the biological processes in that night owl are very much what we call delayed. So for example, a night owl, when they wake in the morning, they're generally not hungry. Appetite kicks in much later in the daytime. In the mornings, they do not want to do hard brain work, and they certainly don't want to exercise. Often they'll sort of just bumble through the mornings because they need to. And by nighttime, they'll be humming. They'll say, that's when I'm at my most creative, my brain is on fire, I want to exercise at the end of the day, and they get hungry then. Whereas the morning person is completely opposite. They wake up with a ravenous hunger. They're very happy to exercise in the morning. They do their best thinking work in the morning, and by the end of the day, they're absolutely ready for bed and they don't want to play at all. It's really, really important that you sleep in sync with your body clock as much as possible. You don't want to fight nature, you need to work with it. So optimal sleep is that which is timed to be in sync with your body clock. The problem, of course, comes with when we need to fit in with society, and now we need a 7:30 school start time or an 8 o'clock work time. That makes it really tricky for night owls, of course. A lot of people want to know about napping. Is it good? Is it bad? Should I do it? Should I not? We're actually designed to only sleep once in a 24-hour period, and we should be sleeping at night when the sun is down. Ideally, we should be getting our 8 to 10 hours of sleep per night in one consolidated block. However, there are some instances where people are unable to attain that amount of sleep at night for various reasons, and then you get a nap license. So these are going to be new parents who are caring for a baby, and that's baby's got no rhythm, rhyme, or reason, so you need a nap license. People who are sick will need a nap license because when you're sick, you need to sleep more to recover. Shift workers get a nap license because they need to pay back sleep debt all over the show. Athletes get a nap license because an athlete's sleep need is much longer than the general person, and it's generally not feasible to get sufficient sleep at nighttime. And then when you're recovering from something like jet lag, or maybe you've just had to meet some deadlines, you need to pay back some sleep debt, you get a short-term nap license. And so napping is generally somewhere between 20 and sort of 90 minutes of sleep that's done in the daytime. The reason that we don't advocate napping for most people is that we first need you to optimize your nighttime sleep. Once that's optimal and you still need more sleep, then you're allowed to put in a nap. But what you need to be careful of is that it doesn't then backfire and impair your own sleep. So very much what happens is you have terrible nighttime sleep. You definitely cannot make it throughout the daytime. So you have a nap to try to revive yourself. And then that inadvertently pushes your bedtime later. And then you end up in this poor cycle where your nighttime sleep is not optimal and you're relying on this nap. So here's the question. If you don't have a nap license, are you allowed to nap? Well, it's like me saying, no, you can never ever eat chocolate or ice cream. All right. We all need that treat every now and then. So while on average we don't advocate for napping, that little guilty Sunday afternoon pleasure, a little nap and a nice sunbeam, nothing wrong with that. It makes you feel good and it's just nice. And so from that perspective, the odd nap here and there, where it's something that you're doing for pure enjoyment, absolutely no problem at all, just as long as it's not a habit. Why do people then often find that they nap a lot more when they're on holiday? And this is probably because they're paying back sleep debt. So we all have a certain sleep need, and our sleep needs differ. Mine's different to yours. And in fact, your sleep need differs as the seasons change as well. Your body requires you to pay back some of your sleep debt. It actually writes off quite a lot. Can you imagine that if you're on average sleeping an hour less than you need in a week, you're losing 7 hours a week? There's no ways you're going to catch that up on the weekend by napping for 7 hours, for example. So fortunately, your body writes off loads of the sleep debt, but not all of it. You have to pay back some of that sleep debt. And so either you do that with extending your nighttime sleep, doing catch-up sleep on the weekends, napping here or there, or if you're on a holiday, you'll find that your sleep extends quite considerably for the first few days in the holiday. And usually after 4 or 5 days, then you'll stop extending your sleep and it'll come back to a more normal value once you've written off or paid back some of that sleep debt.